So just a quick show of hands. How many of you guys are business majors, and how many of you guys are business majors? And how many of you guys are like engineers or, okay, humanitarian or humanities? That's what I graduated in, so just curious. Okay. Well, how many of you guys have heard of Proof? Let's start there too. Okay, a couple of you, that's good. So I started Proof, and I run it with my two younger brothers, so it's a family-owned and operated business. And coming back on campus was kind of interesting because I sat in a lot of, I think I actually took this class and sat in this lecture hall and saw a lot of businesses come through. And like was mentioned, my dad's on the entrepreneur board here at BYU, and I kind of always thought of myself as an entrepreneur, but had never done anything entrepreneurial. And so coming back to campus was really interesting. It's walking around, I saw a guy that was dressed up as a knight with a long sword and everything. And is it Quills and Swords? Is that still around? Is that the name of the club? Okay, just checking. So that's still here, so that's good. I was worried that maybe after I left and the membership might have dropped too low, it might not have continued. So if anybody's in that, that's a really cool club. So the title of my discussion, I guess, or lecture today is From Garage to Global. And so this might give it away, but all of these companies have something in common. They all started in the garage of someone's home. So those are some pretty recognizable names, and this is actually my garage. This is Proof. And this is Proof headquarters for about a year and a half, actually. And so it was really funny. We put it on Google, and people would come search, and people would actually drive to my house and be like, hey, I'm in front of this house, and I'm looking for Proof headquarters. I wanted to talk to you about a business opportunity. I wanted to buy some glasses or something like that. And be like, oh, yeah, come on in. So we ran this out of the garage, and my younger brother graduated from BYU, Idaho, and he was working this garage. And so I'd pull in at night, and the high beams would be on him, and he'd turn around and be like, what are you doing, in the office here? So it was kind of it was a bad structure. It wasn't a great place to work. We kept expanding, kept growing, and we had to move out of the garage. And so really what I hope to do during this lecture is kind of give you guys a little bit of history of Proof and how we went about it. It might not be perfect for everybody, and also try to teach a couple principles, I guess. And it's free advice, so it's only worth what you pay for it, right? So let's begin the journey, I guess. So as was mentioned, our family is in the wood manufacturing distribution business. And so some of our largest customers are like Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards for you guys in the Midwest. We manufacture wood building materials, moldings, doors, and windows primarily. And this is my grandpa. His name was Bud. He was a really entrepreneurial type guy. He basically was a truck driver, never graduated high school, and he would drive trucks. Someone owed him some money, and so he got to the point where this person couldn't pay him any money, pay him the money he owed him, and said, hey, I've got this molding equipment. Will you take that as payment? He said, hey, it's better than nothing. Probably I can scrap it or something. He started looking at this equipment and said, I could probably run this, and taught himself how to run this molding equipment, started making moldings, partnered with a sawmill, and would take their waste and turn it into moldings, and then he'd run it down to California on the weekends. So during the week, he was running the molding group, and a little bit bigger than a garage organization. And then on the weekends, he'd run it down to California and sell it, and then he'd come back, turn around, and do it all over again. And so kind of a funny story is that he went back home and was talking to his principal, and he never graduated high school, right? So his principal's like, hey, Bud, how you doing? And he said, yeah, I'm doing okay, and the business is good. And he says, well, how much money are you making, if you don't mind me asking? And he told him, and he said, Bud, you're making like twice as much as I am, and I'm your principal. And he says, well, I never graduated from high school. And so it's kind of a story that we always like to tell of Grandpa. He was kind of just an entrepreneurial guy, kind of a hustler, and really interesting history and story behind him. But entrepreneurism, I guess, is in our family's blood, and we always say, based on the sawmill business and the molding business that we've been involved in, that we have sawdust in our veins. So real quick history on Wood Grain. Wood Grain today is family-owned. We have about 1,900 employees, 17 locations, and we have a buying office in China and a joint venture in Chile. And in the joint venture in Chile, we have about 500 employees down there. So that's a little back history on I guess, being trained. And one of the things that's kind of interesting is a lot of people say, where did you get your entrepreneurial drive? Where did you learn business and things like that? And really, it came from a lot of the backstory is wood grain. I mean, we'd have suppliers over and customers and partners, and my grandpa would bring them to dinner, and we'd sit down and have dinner and eat Jello salad with them and talk about, what the problem is with wood up in the Northwest and why why importing it from somewhere else might be better. And so we learned a lot of business principles just at the dinner table. So that kind of sets the table for proof. So the idea, everybody talks about when the idea launched for proof. When did you get the idea? I get that question a lot. So those are ski poles on the other side, bamboo ski poles. And I was in my garage and I thought, you know what, this is $1 million idea is bamboo ski poles. This is a brilliant idea. I love to ski. People buy these things like crazy. They used to make them back in the old days, and I'm going to make bamboo ski poles and modernize them. So I started toying with that idea in my garage in my spare time, and the idea, frankly, was a bad idea. We start looking at the demographic of skiing and how it is the seasonality of skiing and the amount of people that ski and the amount of people that want to buy bamboo ski poles that ski. It got smaller and smaller as we went down, and on top of that, I really couldn't figure out a good way to manufacture them. Funny side note, there was actually a company here in Utah that about 6 months after I killed the idea started up a bamboo ski pole company called Panda Poles. It's based in Cottonwood Canyon. So anyways, I like the principle of using something with wood. It's kind of in my blood, and I like that medium. And so I started toying with the idea of wood sunglasses, and I saw a pair of reading glasses from Japan that were made out of bamboo on a website. And I thought, geez, that's really cool. They were old school, 19th century or something like that. And I thought, why couldn't we do that with sunglasses? And so that's kind of how the idea was born. So personally, I feel like there's a genesis or something that pushes you into business or pushes you into entrepreneurship. And for me, I had the idea. I was kind of making a few pairs of sunglasses and giving them to friends. And then people were like, hey, I want to get some for Christmas for my friends. And it kind of started building, but I didn't really think it was a business. I thought it was kind of more of a hobby. And so I was online one day, and I was reading the Huffington Post, and there was a contest, and it said, do amazing, right? And I thought, I'm kind of an amazing guy. I could do amazing, right? And I clicked on it, and it was basically, tell us what you do to do amazing, and we'll give you $25,000 worth of HP product and support, and you can enter this contest. So basically, I put my business plan in paragraph form and said, this is what I do. I started a sunglass company, and then I would give back to people in need, and I would donate to an eye clinic. And I ended up winning this contest. So here I am with $25,000 worth of computers, basically, from HP. And at the time, I was using Apple, so it was kind of like, what am I going to do with $25,000 of HP computers, right? So I took all the computers, took all the stuff they gave us, and I sold like half of it. I put it on eBay and sold it. And people that had voted for me for this contest, family and friends, were like, hey, well, where's the company? When are you going to start doing this, And it was like, yeah, I better do that, right? I better do amazing now, right? So I started Proof and started a company. I started building the website at night during my free time. Started selling some online a little bit, and I took the money and I put it in the bank that I sold the HP product with. So HP, big supporter. They helped me launch Proof. So I love what they did. And so I put wantrepreneur versus entrepreneur. I think that I was in the stage where I was a wantrepreneur. I wanted to do something, and I think a lot of people have that idea. I've talked to a lot of people that say, I have an idea, but I haven't really done anything with it. Or I have an idea, and someone took it, or someone did it differently. And so I was kind of in that stage. And so there was the genesis for Proof was that HP Huffington Post contest. Winning that contest kind of pushed me and made me do it. So I always ask the question, what's going to push you into the role of an entrepreneur? What's going to make you an entrepreneur and move out of that entrepreneur to entrepreneur? And I ask a lot of people that talk to me and ask me, how did you get started? What's going to be the genesis? What's going to start you? So part of it for us was this motto. We came up with the rallying cry of screw it, just do it. Because a lot of times I think as entrepreneurs, you sit there and you go, well, it's not perfect yet. And it's not quite how I want it. And one of the things that we've discovered is just putting a product out there sometimes and learning through trial and error has helped us and helped us improve a product and get to where we want to. I think Harry S. Truman said it a little bit more eloquently. He said, imperfect activity is better than perfect inactivity, if that makes sense. So it's basically getting in there, doing something, trying something. If it doesn't work, it's okay. And so we have the kind of the motto of fail fast, frequently, and cheaply. It's okay if we fail and things don't work out, as long as we do it quickly and kind of recover from it, and also do it cheaply where it doesn't cost us a lot. Quick story: we had a new wood that we wanted to put in. It was really cool looking. It was this zebra wood. It had these really cool wood grains in it, and people really wanted it. We put it up on our website, and people were like, oh, this is great. You got to release this. And we put it out there without really testing it. And as soon as we got it and started selling it, it started warping, and it started cracking, and it started just breaking for no reason. People would put it in their windshield, and it would just break. And we're like, that's a problem, right? That's a problem when you're a startup. And so we basically said, hey, we'll refund you. We'll send you a different pair. We'll send you a new product. And it started working out. And we basically learned really quickly that wood wasn't going to work. We had to make some changes. The other thing that was a question, we launched in 2010. And it was kind of at that point where the recession was still in. And we were kind of asking the question, a lot of people asked us, can you really launch a product that is a want more than a need? It wasn't a necessity. It was more of a product that, hey, it's cool, I want it. And that was a question that we really grappled with a little bit. And so we kind of, asked ourselves this question, and then we went back up to the top and said, okay, let's screw it, just do it. So the proof launch, we launched in January of 2011. We were kind of in the works before that, but we officially launched in 2011. I built the website at night when I had time, and basically built it off a photography website. There was a template, and my wife's a photographer, and so she's like, oh, this website's great. So I basically took this template that she had and built our website. The only problem was it didn't have a shopping cart with it, and then we had to link it to a different shopping cart. So we had this really bad website that I'd created at night when I had time. And the day we launched the website, we sold like $1,500 worth of glasses. And so it was like, wow, we've made it. We've sold $1,500 worth of glasses. We started with about $19,000 total. People always say, well, where'd you get the money? And a lot of people have asked, well, Wood Grain, did Wood Grain sponsor this or fund it? And we said, no, it's really something that we started ourselves and put our own money into. And of that $19,000, a good chunk of that's actually from HP. So again, HP was a big supporter and proof in the early days. I recognized that I needed some help because I was basically working a full-time job, and then I went home, and then I'd package everything up at night, and then I'd throw it in a box and take it to the post office the next day. And me and the postal lady became really good friends. She was just like, oh, selling a lot of pairs of glasses, And so we became really good friends. And it got to the point where I just couldn't do it anymore. I'd come home, and that's all I was doing. It became my life. And so I brought my two younger brothers in. At the time, one was here at BYU in the ad program, and one was at BYU, Idaho, majoring in business. And so I brought them in and said, hey, do you want to be partners? And they were in college, and it's like, yeah, what else are we doing? Sure, we'll come do that. Sounds like fun. And they joined up. And so we went to our first trade show in Vegas. And I didn't know anything about trade shows and how they worked in the fashion industry. And I talked to a friend that works for Jeffrey Campbell Shoes. If anybody knows that, girls might know those shoes. And he said, you got to go to Vegas. That's the place to go. There's 2 shows a year, and it's like the show to go to. So we basically took what little money we had and put it into this booth at Vegas. And we put pretty much all our eggs in that basket because we wanted to show well. We didn't want to seem like we were just this small little podunk company from Idaho. And so we wanted to have a good presence. So we put a lot of money into it. We got all our stuff on point and went to Vegas. And it was really interesting because there was a guy across from us at the show, and he was selling to Urban Outfitters and selling T-shirts and kind of those funny shirts like, I can't even think what, those little slogans and goofy stuff that they say. He said, hey, I want to give you guys some advice. And this show's really hard, and you gotta create a following. You gotta get some people to come, and you gotta come on a continual basis. So your first show is gonna be really tough. Like you might not get an order, but don't give up. Don't be sad if it doesn't work out. Come back the next show, and you'll build this following, and it'll kind of snowball, and you guys have something good, and it'll work. So like the second day, every day there was just a crazy amount of people in our booth from all over the world. And by the second day, I looked over at this guy, and he's just shaking his head like, I don't believe it. And he came over after the show, and he said, honestly, I've never seen anybody come to the show and make such a big impact right off the bat. And he's like, you got such a cool product. He's like, my girlfriend's here at the show. She has a shop in San Francisco, and I'm telling her she's got to buy your stuff and bring it into her shop. And so she was actually one of the first shops we signed. And so our first orders, we actually had like 3 global orders, and we're shipping to Amsterdam and South Korea like right off the bat. And so we kind of joked around about like, we've made it, and we're global, and we got about 10 orders at the show. And that was at the show. And then we got some perpetual orders after the show. So that was kind of the proof launch. And this happened in a time period. We launched the website, and 2 weeks later, we were in Vegas. And so people were like, "Oh, how long have you been around?" It's like 2 weeks, you know. And so it was kind of a funny transition. So basically, one of the things that you have to go think through, I guess, when you're starting a business is how you're going to fund it. So it's to bank or not to bank. Are you going to go and bank with, you know, a traditional bank? Are you going to go self-fund it? Are you going to go and do something, you know, ask family and friends for the money? So this is kind of our process. So we got the Huffington Post HP computer equipment, which we sold, which generated some cash. We also entered some business competitions. We entered the BYU Idaho business competition. My younger brother was up there and entered, and he won the elevator pitch and he won the business competition up there. So there's, you know, local, national, and school competitions that we were looking at. We actually entered the business competition here because my younger brother was going to school here, and they rejected us. So that was kind of it's a sore spot for us a little bit, you know. But we haven't held it against BYU. So they actually said, you know, no, you can't make the competition. One of the things that we've, when you're starting and they talk about bootstrapping, I'm really a big believer in bootstrapping. Maybe it means not taking a salary. Maybe it means skimping on some things. But I really believe that you need to skimp where you can and splurge where you need to. And so for us, going to that trade show, we had to splurge and spend like $5,000 on a booth, even though we didn't really have a ton of income coming in yet. And we had to have our packaging on point and work through that and design all that stuff and have it all made and ready for the show. And so I think this is kind of key when you're bootstrapping, is that you have to have that balance. And I see a lot of companies that start up and then they get into an office and they get into, you know, a good situation. That way you go in like, wow, these guys are just killing it. And then, you know, 6 months later, a year later, they're gone because they've burned through all their capital, burned through all their dollars. And we were up until February, a year ago, this February, we'd moved out of our garage. So we just, you know, a little over a year been out of our garage. And since then, we've been in 2 different offices since we moved out of the garage. And so we were really like, hey, let's keep our costs down, let's keep our overhead down. And we weren't paying ourselves a whole lot of money. So the other thing is self-financing. Me and my brothers, partners, we talked and said, hey, let's go sell some stock, or let's figure out how to make some money. And so when my grandfather passed away, he actually gave each of his grandkids like $3,000. And he gave this to us like when we were, I don't know, 10 or 11 or so, maybe a little older. And I put in Microsoft stock. And so buying Microsoft stock when you're 11 and then selling it when you're like 30 is kind of a good thing. And so we didn't have to pull much money out, but I actually sold some Microsoft stock in order to finance Proof. The other thing is Kickstarter, and I heard you guys mention Kickstarter here. I really like Kickstarter because it allows you to go in and not have to give up equity in your company, and allows you not to be able to give up control of your company, but allows you to get money quickly. The other thing it allows you to do is kind of do some customer research really quickly. So we could put a product out there, offer a bunch of different SKUs, or we could put we launched a model. We basically needed some money to launch this next model and design this next model of glasses that we called the Ontario. And we didn't have the money to do it. So I said, let's do a Kickstarter. We got the basic design and came up with a couple SKUs. And it was interesting because some of the SKUs that we thought would be really popular didn't do very well on Kickstarter. And some of the ones that we didn't think would be popular sold really well. And so that for us was like, okay, when we bring in our inventory, we know what to bring in because of that Kickstarter community. So the feedback's really quick, the cycle's really quick, you don't have to spend a whole lot of money on it, and it's kind of that fail fast, fail quick, and fail cheaply if you're going to do it. So our first Kickstarter, we did about $15,000, $14,000 just selling this one model of glasses, and we're like, hey, this is great, this is kind of a cool model. And so a few months later, we launched another Kickstarter and started making wood wallets. And so it's basically 2 slabs of wood, and we go down to the local bike tire, or the bike store, and they give us their old bike tires, and that's what the band that keeps it all together. And this, I kind of call it a dumb product. I'm really proud of it, but it's kind of a dumb product. This product, we sold $30,000 on Kickstarter alone. So there's a lot of ways to go out there and fund your business without having to go and ask for money or go to the bank or sell your soul or any of those things. And so Kickstarter is a good platform for that. The other thing that I think comes into play, and as an entrepreneur, if you're looking to go down that path or start your own business, is a W principle. And my dad quotes this like all the time. So it's ingrained in my mind. But it's wishy-washy wishing won't where work will. And basically the whole concept is you can't sit there and wish that things are going to happen. You got to get out there and get your hands dirty and go make the contacts and go build the product and go look for money or whatever it may be. It's a contact sport really, and so you got to get out there and make some things happen. So challenges. We consider ourselves David in the sunglass industry. Goliath would be like Luxottica, and I don't know if you guys understand how the sunglass industry works, but Luxottica owns like everything. They own Oakley, they own Ray-Ban, they own Sunglass Hut, they own the insurance companies for vision, they own JCPenney optical, they own, what else do they own? Everything. Let's just put it that. It's maybe the easier way to do it. They own everything in the eyewear industry. And naively, I went into it, and I did some research before we got into eyewear, but I thought this would be really easy. We'll create this really cool product. We'll go to Sunglass Hut, and we'll say, like, hey, look, we've got this really cool product. We make wood sunglasses and eco-friendly products, and we want to get in the Sunglass Hut. And as you started getting into it a little bit more and peeling back the onion, it doesn't work that way. I mean, Luxottica owns everything that way. And so they own even like the Gucci and Ralph Lauren and all the models that they carry in their shops. They own the branding for those. And so they basically license those products and make them. So sometimes cluelessness pays off. I think sometimes you can get too caught up in why you can't get into something. And so we were pretty clueless. And if I probably would have known all that, I probably would have done it the way we did it and entered into the sunglass industry the way we did. The other thing is competition. And I went and sat in on a lecture from a former CIA agent, and he talked about during the Cold War, Russia and the U.S. were basically going after each other, and they were focusing on each other's strengths. And they were looking to see what who had the most bombs and who had the nuclear warheads, and they're really focused on the strengths. And the CIA agent said, well, why don't we focus on Russia's weaknesses and just hammer on these weaknesses a lot more? We're just focused on their strengths. And that's when they started working on like monetary policy and different things that they hadn't been focusing on previously. And then the Iron Curtain fell, and the rest is history, I guess, as they say. And so with Proof, we kind of looked at it the same way, is that we're not going to be an Oakley or a Smith or a Ray-Ban. We wanted to go in and focus on the weaknesses of the industry, and one of the weaknesses that we saw is that no one really offered an eco-friendly frame, something that was sustainable, renewable, recyclable, and that's why we developed our wood sunglasses, and that's when we started also developing eco-acetate, which is made from plant-based cellulose, and started expanding the line. The other challenge is time and resources. Our product development was one of them too. We basically got to the point where we had a couple pairs of wood sunglasses, and we thought, how do we expand from this? And we kind of felt stagnant for a couple months, and that's when we launched these wood wallets and used recycled bike tires and started producing those and developing new products. And then it was actually really good for us because it got us to the point to say, okay, we can develop new products and go into something a little bit different that is outside of the eyewear line. Time and resources, I think that's pretty obvious. I was at the time working full-time and then doing this on nights and weekends, and so that was tough, and my two younger brothers were both still in school. And so we were basically getting these orders from all over the world and filling them at night and in between classes and things like that. So it was kind of a crazy time. The other thing was production and supply chain. We found some factories and some wood shops that we were working with, and some were better than others, and we found that some were more on point and more on point than others, and some shipped on time and some didn't, and that really affected our supply chain and some of our relationships with our customers. And one of the things that kind of goes back to that fail fast, fail cheaply, and early is that we had a supplier that just wasn't doing a very good job for us, and so we had to. We basically lost a customer because of it, and it was a small customer at the time. They had two or three shops, but it was painful because we were a brand new company and we could use all the business that we could. So I think these were definite challenges for us going into it. So opportunities, scalability, and this is kind of what we see as the future and some of the things that we think that are good opportunities for us. So eco-friendly fashion and products. It's interesting because when the eco side of things started, it was really, I don't know, I think that there was a lot of products out there that were like, here, I made these hemp t-shirts, and they're made completely of hemp, and it's like, oh, that's That's great. How they feel? Oh, they're super itchy. But they're made from hemp, and they're really sustainable, And so you get this really weird market where people were into green products, and you had to be like a hardcore, like, green type person to go out and buy them. And since then there's been a shift, and I call it the green products renaissance, because in the past it was like everybody was trying to find something that was green, and it was kind of counterculture. It was kind of on the edge, I guess. And now I think the green products have entered a renaissance where people are looking for green products. They want something that's eco-friendly. They want something that's sustainable, and has some meaning to it. Wood products and accessories are really popular, and you start seeing wood watches, wood chains, and jewelry, different things like that. So wood's kind of on an uptick currently. This is a big one. Is the U.S. sunglass market is $3.8 billion, and so you always hear people saying, "Well, if only I could get 10% of that or 5% of that, what would that mean?" And I think that more than anything, we're not focused on percentage of that what we can capture, but that it's such a large market that there's an opportunity for us at Proof. So other products, we think that our opportunities, clothing, hats, wallets, accessories, and some other things we're working on. The other thing that's really big is foreign markets and distribution. We've basically been focused on the U.S., and we've started to expand internationally. We have about 5 international distributors currently, but we think there's a huge market for that. I talked to a buddy that works for KPMG in Russia that I went to grad school with, and he says, "I don't know why you don't bring Proof over here." And I said, "Well, it's Russia. I've heard it's hard to do business there, and I've worked in Russia a little bit, and it's just difficult." And he said, "There's a lot of money in Russia right now, and you got to figure out how to tap into it." And I was like, "Yeah, like we should talk," but hadn't talked. So anyways, 2 days later, he sends me a picture, and he's like, "Okay, just to put this in perspective, this is a cafe that's just on the side of the river here in Moscow. It's not a really popular cafe, but just to put this in perspective." And he sends me a picture. I open it up, and there's 6 Bugattis lined up in front of this cafe in Russia. And he's saying "Come to Russia. There's money in Russia." And so I think part of the thing that's really interesting is sometimes that you can get focused on what works and kind of that bread and butter, and not look outside of not look outside the box and look at other opportunities outside because maybe it's foreign or you don't understand it or you don't really know it or you feel like there's risk there. So the other thing that we see as an opportunity is that we keep getting good feedback from our big retailers and good reviews from customers. And so if that was the opposite, obviously I think that we'd say, okay, how do we turn this thing off and change course? And we started out with really myself, and then I added my 2 younger brothers. And today we have about 8 employees. And as we add new employees, they bring different skills, and it's opening our minds to different things as well. I think a lot of times when you, maybe even it's just working with your brothers too, but they talk about the great master painters, and the master painters became master painters because they started talking to each other and sharing techniques and sharing ideas and thoughts. And so I'm a big believer that bringing in fresh blood and new skills can help you expand your company, expand what you're trying to do, and maybe help improve on the things that you aren't good at. I've always said that you don't want to bring a partner on unless they bring one of 2 things, and I think it's kind of basic, but I'll say it anyways, is that they need to bring money and they need to bring know-how. And so bringing on new employees sometimes brings on know-how and skills that you don't have. We're also looking at creating we don't have a rep organization at all with our glasses, and if you get into the action sports and that industry, the sunglass industry in general, everyone has reps, and we don't do that yet. And it means new opportunities, but also means new challenges, managing a larger group, and it's kind of an interesting process. The sales season opportunity is really interesting. When we got into it, I didn't really think about it, but one of the first distributors that we signed on was from Australia. And he was distributing another product that we liked, and we thought, that's a good match, let's just do it. And he said, well, the great thing about Australia is that the seasons are different, right? And we're like, yeah, that's right. And to be honest, I hadn't really thought through that process. So when it's winter up here, it's summer down there, winter up here. And so basically, when our sales season kind of goes on the decline, Australia's is just ramping up, and it's the same for Latin America. And so it's something that we didn't think about early on, and it was this great benefit of expanding distribution. The other thing that we're looking at is doing prescription glasses, and we think that's a huge market. I think, if you know the Warby Parkers at glasses and 1-800 contacts and some of those guys here in Utah, there's some good opportunities that way to focus on prescription. And that market's starting to open up a lot more for us. And it's a whole new market, and actually it's a larger market than the sunglass market. So marketing on a budget. This is kind of the down and dirty of how we've done it. And I'm not saying it's the right way to do it, but this is how we've done it, and you guys can take it for what it's worth, I guess. So social media. Before we launched Proof, we had a Twitter account, we had a Facebook account, and we just pushed stuff out there all the time about, Proof's coming and get ready, and we didn't have any product. And we started getting this following of people. Like, we had like 2,000 followers on Facebook and a couple hundred on Twitter, and we had no product. It was basically like, we're going to make wood sunglasses someday, and so people were like, oh, cool, I'll follow that. And so we started getting a big buzz with social media early on. And it's cheap, and it's a good way to test things quickly, see if people like certain SKUs, certain looks, and without having to go out in full production and find out it doesn't work. Early on, we snuck backstage a lot. And so we wanted to kind of expand the product and get it on some more famous people's faces, and without having to pay money for that, because there's actually a whole industry where you can go out there and pay someone, and they get it on these celebrities' faces. And so I contacted, does anybody remember Bubba Sparks? Bubba Sparks. I contacted Bubba Sparks' manager because they were coming through Boise. And so Bubba Sparks' manager was like, yeah, come on down, man. We'll come talk to you. And so I went and met him, and he's like, meet me in this hotel. And so I was like, here's some glasses. We'd love to give a pair to Bubba. Big fans, So anyways, he's like, oh, great, cool. And I thought, like, oh, that's it. And I was hoping to just get a picture with him, And I met the manager in the lobby, and it's like, no picture, And he's like, hey, do you want to come to the show tonight? And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. So he's like, here's 2 backstage passes. And so we went to the show, and it was a big, summer fest type thing. And so they had a ton of different artists, like Dev, the G6 girl that liked the G6, that song. So she was there, and a bunch, like the New Boys, and a bunch of people. So we ended up getting glasses to all these people. We're backstage, like hanging out, eating shrimp in the backstage with all these artists. And they're like, hey, these are really cool. Yeah. And so we started getting pictures, and so we started putting those out there with people wearing our glasses. So that was kind of a marketing thing. And Macklemore came to Salt Lake, and my brother was going to school here. Went up to his concert and gave him and his crew some glasses. And so we kind of would sneak backstage and get to know some of the managers and some of the management companies. And they're like, oh, that's cool, great. So we'd sneak backstage and get the celebrity endorsements. So we've had like Beyonce wear our glasses. We've had Snoop Dogg, Kelly Rollins, Macklemore, Shannon Brown plays for Lakers. Just kind of a wide variety, and it's kind of a really eclectic group too. YouTube. We've created videos, and I actually think I have one on here. I'll show it to you. But YouTube's a great way to market. It's cheap, and a lot of times people have great equipment. It's really easy to do. It's really easy to start your own YouTube channel. Athletes. We started sponsoring some athletes. This is Claire Bevo. She's sponsored by Volcom, Nixon watches. Who else? Sector 9 longboard. She's from Australia, and she rips. She's a really good surfer. And I knew that she was into a vegan lifestyle and like natural things, and so I just hit her up on Twitter and said, hey, I started this sunglass company. You want to wear some? And she said, oh, I really like what you guys are about and the aesthetic, and this is really cool. And she signed on. And so it was kind of a cool process. So guerrilla marketing, we've done things like sticker campaigns and things on Instagram and different things I won't go into all it because there's a lot of different ways you can go into guerrilla marketing. Local regional events, we'll sponsor snowboard competitions, ski competitions, skate competitions, fashion shows, just a wide array of things. And then leverage opportunities. This is a kind of a funny story because I got nominated for Emerging Entrepreneur of the Year through Entrepreneur Magazine and last year. And so my brother, who's the president of marketing, started sending this out and was like, hey, go vote for Brooks as Emerging Entrepreneur of the Year. And so this company in the Czech Republic basically assumed, I think, that I was like this nationally known emerging entrepreneur in the U.S. and that they had to do business with us. And so Taylor basically took that opportunity and said, yeah, like Brooks is a great entrepreneur, this is my brother. And so we were able to get in Czech Republic. We opened a distributor in the Czech Republic, of all places, and we were able to leverage these opportunities that kind of came our way. So this is a video, and I actually hadn't gone out and looked at it in a couple of weeks, but I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with Devin Graham here in Provo. So Devin Graham and my younger brother Taylor know each other. And Taylor said, hey, let's do a video together next time you're in Hawaii. And so I said, okay, that'd be great. And so for about $300, we did this video. And the cost of this video was, we went out and bought a used trampoline, we painted it, and we rented some kayaks. And that was it. And Devin did the rest for free. And so we'll play this. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of cool. And so we have as of yesterday, we had 3.3 million views on it in less than a month, and it cost us $300. So. There's actually rumors that he died at that. That's actually my brother, and there was internet rumors that he passed away in that jump. Not true, by the way. So not a bad way to market, right? I mean, it was interesting because we had, I think we had over 2 million hits on that in the first week. And so, like I said, it was just a connection, and it didn't cost us a whole lot of money. And let me see if I can keep this moving here. And the exposure was great. So we offered a discount code at the bottom, and we had, a couple hundred people use this discount code. And it was free marketing, free advertising. It's perpetual. It's out on YouTube forever, and it's worked pretty well. We also worked with the ad lab here at BYU. I started, when I started Proof, I did the logos and I did everything, and I came up with this tagline, look good, do good, because we actually donate part of our proceeds to an eye clinic in India, and I thought that kind of works. And we talked with the ad lab, and Taylor, coming from the ad group, said, hey, this we need to kind of refresh, freshen things up and kind of kickstart some things a little bit more. And so we worked with the ad lab on our limited marketing budget, and they came up with Crafted from the ground up, because that's kind of how we started our company. We didn't start with any money, put our own money into it, and it kind of tied in with the product, plant a seed in the ground, and down the road you're gonna have a tree. And so it kind of played on that whole thought of Proof crafted from the ground up, and so are the people that wear it. And it was kind of a cool thing that we worked with the ad lab on, and it actually opened up our demographic and appealed to some kind of a wider audience, which was really interesting. So here's some celebrity endorsements and just some stuff that we've got out there. we got Newsweek like right before Newsweek stopped making the magazine, so that was kind of cool. Actually, the one I'm most proud of is Sally Jesse Raphael. I don't know if you guys know her or not. It might be a little bit after generation, but she was kind of like the talk show queen. She was kind of like the one that did like, he is not the father, you know, that guy's kind of like the Maury Povich before Maury Povich a little bit. And she wears glasses all the time, and she actually tweeted, I don't know if you can read it there, she says, oh, if these are in red, I'd love to have a pair. And so I tweeted back, said, yeah, we've got them in red, you know, send us your address. So Snoop Dogg, Beyonce, been in Vogue, UFC Magazine, I don't know how that happened, but UFC Magazine. Tegan and Sarah, who are really big right now. Macklemore, I'm trying to think who else. Miranda Kerr, Victoria's Secret's model. I couldn't put her picture up here because it's BYU. So her and her husband, Orlando Bloom. And yeah, so we've kind of got some cool exposure over, and a lot of, like I said, all this has been grassroots and guerrilla marketing. We haven't gone out there and paid for a PR firm. We haven't paid for any endorsements. It just kind of happened. So some of you guys have you guys seen Shark Tank? Show of hands real quick. Have some of you guys seen that show? I'd actually never seen the show until like July last year. And I had a couple friends were saying that you got to go on Shark Tank. Like proof is like perfect. And all I knew about it was that you had to give up some equity in your company, and we were making some money. And I said, yeah, I don't really want to go on Shark Tank. And so we were going back and forth on the opportunity. And at the time, my younger brother Taylor was in Hawaii, finishing up at BYU Hawaii, and Tanner was working full time, and was just like, there's no way we can pull this off. We just got too many things going on. And so we pro'd and conned it. You have to share a lot of information. You got to share a lot of your financials. And finally I said, I'll own this, and I'll go and see if we can get on Shark Tank. So I watched a couple episodes and said, this is actually really cool, and went and applied, and there was like a Gmail account. It was like Shark Tank at Gmail. And I was like, this is so hokey. This isn't even like a real account, you know. And so I applied, said, this is our company. Here's our website. We're interested in going on the show. And that was about it, maybe 2 sentences. 3 days later, they called and said, hey, we'd love to have you on the show. Went through the process and went on the show. And if you saw it, we got 2 offers from Kevin and not Mark. I'm trying to think of I'm spacing on his name right now. Robert, thank you. Thank you. Robert's actually one of my favorite sharks, and I spaced on it. So 2 offers from Kevin and Robert, and we passed because for 2 things. Is it time? Okay. So we passed on the Shark Tank. And so real quick, the results of that were, we had 2 million hits in 2 days to our website. We sold over $250,000 in a month and sustained higher sales since then, so sales have been really good. New exposure, new demographics. We got some marriage proposals as well, and so it's kind of fun. And so this is, I joked with a friend, you haven't made it until you have an internet meme. And he said, look what I found on the internet. And this is me crying on national TV, which is every boy's dream, by the way. And so real quick, we donate to an eye clinic in India called the Arvind Eye Clinic. It's a really cool organization. It'd be good for you guys to spend some time in it. The big takeaway is that they basically provide sight-giving surgeries to people that live in poverty and can't afford them. So in 36 years, they've had 32 million patients and performed 4 million eye surgeries. And so we're basically building rural eye clinics in India that will service 70,000 underserved individuals. We're going to build our first one this summer and hope to build another 4 to 5 in the next 10 years. So here's the free entrepreneurial advice. Don't fear the unknown. All risks aren't risky. Everybody talks about entrepreneurs are risk takers. And we took a lot of calculated risk. We had the money, and so we kind of thought, well, if this fails, we've got these computers that we sold, and we're not going to lose any of our own money. And so when we started out, we didn't risk any of our own money. We took some calculated risk. I've always believed that following your passion was a really big thing, and I believe in that. I kind of think it's bogus, though, because I'm really passionate about nonprofits and alleviating poverty and those types of things. And it's hard to work in a nonprofit. It's hard. They're always short on cash. And so what I did is start an eyewear company that basically services that nonprofit sector. And so I think sometimes following your passion, you can be really passionate about dance but not make any money doing it. And so I think that's kind of a bogus thing. And so I don't want to hurt anybody's dreams if that's, I believe you should chase your passions, but I also think you should figure it out in a calculated way. Attack your competitors' weaknesses, kind of we talked about CIA and Russia. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, and being your boss isn't the case if you give up equity. And that's one of the reasons why we didn't didn't bring on a partner with the Sharks because we wanted to manage our own destiny. And the last thing, I think the rarest commodity is in the world is leadership without ego. And so I would challenge you guys, as you guys start your own businesses or go into the business world, is to approach it without ego and look for ways to serve other people and make a difference. So thanks for attending. Appreciate it.